Hello and welcome to another bike ride review. I'm Scott and today we're looking at the Fiido Air, a lightweight carbon fiber e-bike with some funky styling. It weighs in at just under 33 pounds and promises high-tech urban fun with some gravel chops thrown in for good measure. The Air is the latest entrant in a niche that includes the Utopia Carbon 1, Van Power's City Vanture, Tenway's Seago 600 Pro, and the Velotric T1 ST Plus. Price-wise, the Air sits in the middle of the pack. While the Utopia costs quite a bit more, it offers even funkier styling, as well as more tech. Though the other bikes here are substantially cheaper than the Fiido, they offer more power, higher speeds, and greater range. So does the Fiido's low weight, integrated lighting, and simplified e-bike interface make it a compelling alternative? We're about to find out. In this review, I'll introduce the bike and give you the main pros and cons before running through the bike in detail, including the test results and my riding impressions, and then summarizing my conclusions at the end. So let's get started. Though it's based in Hong Kong, Fiido has a sizable presence in the US and Europe and has had one for many years. This well-known e-bike brand offers a range of popular models, covering almost every e-biking style, including fat bikes, cargo bikes, and city bikes. We've already reviewed several other Fiido bikes on the channel, including the Titan, the C11, T2, and the M1 Pro. And you'll also find a dozen other reviews of Fiido products on our website. You can find links to all of these down in the description. The Air is a lightweight, fixie-style city bike with a single-speed Gates belt drive, a 250-watt hub motor with 35 Nm of torque, and a 36-volt, 208.8 watt-hour battery. Without suspension, the Air relies on the carbon frame set and the 700C by 40mm Kenda tires to smooth out the ride. This Class 1 e-bike only has 2 pedal assist levels and a max assisted speed of 15.5 miles per hour. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a throttle, and there's no way to increase the speed limit like some of the other Fiido bikes. As we record this review, the Air also isn't UL certified, but Fiido does say that testing is underway, and the certification should be issued soon. The Air has a meager IP54 ingress protection rating against dust and water splashes. By the way, in this review, I'll also be testing Fiido's smartwatch, so keep watching for more details on that. The biggest attraction of the Fiido Air is its low weight, which I measured at just over 33 pounds. That low weight doesn't just make the Air easy to pick up, carry, and transport when you're not riding it, it also contributes to this bike being responsive and really just a pleasure to ride. The second pro is how discreet this bike is. Both in terms of looks and the riding experience, the Air does a great job of hiding the fact that it's an e-bike. The small and quiet motor, the absence of any wiring, as well as the discreet e-bike controls mean that there's really little here to let pedestrians or other cyclists know that you're riding an e-bike. The Air is a welcome antidote to most e-bikes, which at this price point can be heavy and not much fun to ride. This bike is light, agile, and responsive, and the single-speed drivetrain works quite well up to the Air's speed limit of 15.5 miles per hour. The Kenda tires are fast rolling, while also offering plenty of grip and a good ride over gravel and broken pavement. Given the lack of suspension, I was pleasantly surprised by how well the Air handled light trails. The responsive and powerful hydraulic brakes work very well, thanks in part to the bike's low weight. The torque sensor is responsive too, and the motor kicks in quickly, and the power feels very natural, never being too aggressive. Fiido's also done a good job of programming the controller to provide great assistance with solid range, especially from such a tiny battery. The Air's 250-watt hub motor only has 35 Nm of torque. Together with the single-speed gearing, this means that the Air struggles up steep hills. I had to stand on the pedals to get the Air up most inclines, and even with me putting in a lot of pedal effort, the Air was slow in both of our hill climb tests. For most climbs, you're going to need to use sport mode and apply a lot of pressure to the pedals. Whenever I faced a hill, I found myself wanting a lower gear to be able to spin the gears faster. I tested the large frame, which Fiido says fits riders from 5 feet 7 to 6 feet 3. However, I also had the seat post at full extension, and I'm only 6 feet tall, so I doubt anyone over 6 feet 1 will find this bike to be a good fit. I assume that the height ranges Fiido gives for the medium and the XL frames might also be slightly exaggerated. When pedaling the Air, my left foot kept hitting the chainstay and the kickstand, unless I remember to angle my foot. I'm all for streamlined interfaces, especially if they reduce clutter and they make the bike easier to use. But I do think that the Air's extremely simple e-bike controls have been stripped back to the point of being slightly confusing. There's only one button to control pedal assist levels, and a light ring that changes color to show which one of the two pedal assist levels you're in. While this sounds like a great idea, I found it a bit confusing because the purple and blue colors used to indicate the pedal assist level are too similar. They should have chosen colors that are easier to distinguish between. There's also a similar problem with the battery meter, which displays one of 3 colors based on the battery's charge. This makes it hard to estimate how much range you really have left. Other streamlined LED-based battery indicators usually have 5 lights. Another problem is that even though the Fiido app and included smartwatch provide greater control over the bike can only connect to one device at a time. And I found that the connection was a little bit unreliable. During one ride, I walked away from the Air a few times with the bike configured to lock and unlock based on the proximity of the Fiido watch. However, one time, after I walked back to the bike simply stopped responding. Neither the watch nor the Fiido app were connecting, and the bike's power button didn't help. After leaving the bike off for about 10 minutes, it suddenly started working. The Air is a hybrid e-bike with a slightly aggressive, or shall we call that sporty, riding position, with no option of a step-through frame. The frame fork, stem, handlebar, and seat post are all carbon fiber. The step-over frame is only available in this silver finish, but you can choose between 3 frame sizes. As a Class 1 e-bike, there's no throttle, so the motor only provides assistance when you're pedaling. The Class 1 speed limit in the USA is 20 miles per hour, but the Air's motor only assists you up to 15.5 miles per hour, and there's no option to unlock this to go faster. When you are pedaling, assistance is controlled by a MyVice S200 torque sensor. Fiido says the Air weighs 30.3 pounds, but that's presumably for the medium, which is the smallest size available. On my scales, this large frame clocks in at 32 pounds without the optional fenders. With the fenders installed, it raises it to just 32.8. It's not as light as Fiido's claims, but it's still super light for an electric bike, especially one with 700C wheels at this price point. The carbon construction, small motor and battery, and the single-speed Gates carbon belt drive all help to keep the weight down. And Fiido says the Air can support up to 264 pounds despite that low weight. The low weight makes the bike easy to pick up, carry, and maneuver when you're not riding it. The Air is really no wider than a regular bike, so it's going to fit anywhere that most non-electric bikes will go, including almost any bike rack. As you can see, the Air has a super clean front end, with no display, e-bike controls, or shifter. Just a set of thermoplastic rubber grips and 2 brake levers. That clean look is maintained by the fully integrated lighting and the Aero style seat post. The only place where this sleek style is spoiled is at the fenders. The fender mounts are clumsy, both to look at and use, and I found it impossible to achieve a consistent gap between the fenders and the tires. But as the fenders aren't included with the bike, you might decide not to even bother with them. Those brake levers have adjustable reach and control hydraulic disc brakes with 2 piston calipers that provide plenty of power, but no braking function for the rear light. The front wheel is secured to the fork with a 100mm by 15mm through axle, which enhances the front end and makes it easy to remove and refit the front wheel. The Air's 700C double-walled aluminum rims come wrapped in 40mm tires. Big wheels like this roll over bumps better than the smaller wheels found on many e-bikes. And the decently wide tires provide some insulation from road buzz and small bumps without slowing you down the way mountain bikes or fat tires do. The tires have puncture protection and a light knobby tread that Fiido says is ideal for gravel. The Air's MyVice M070 hub motor is so small that few people will spot it. Likewise, the DMEGC 5.8 amp-hour battery is hidden inside the frame, but that does mean it's not easy to swap. The Air comes with a 2-amp charger that should charge the battery in less than 4 hours. Fiido also sells a 5.8 amp-hour range extender battery that mounts on the down tube and should double the bike's range. This battery is pretty hard to find on the Fiido site, so I'm going to include a link under the video. The Air's controls are extremely simple. Just a black button with a built-in fingerprint reader on the top tube, and a silver power button on top of the bottom bracket. As I mentioned before, I think Fiido oversimplified things here. The single-speed drivetrain has a 60-tooth chainring and a 22-tooth cog at the back. Belt drives are known for being durable and free from the mess you get with chains. There's also no need to worry about cleaning and lubricating a belt drive, and they're also quieter than chain drives. Normally with belt drive bikes, the frame comes apart at the chainstay, so you can get the belt on and off the bike. On the Air, the Fiido's used a clever carrier that bolts to the chainstay, making it easy to adjust the belt tension. Overall, the Air proved disappointing in our hill climb tests. The impressively low weight and the efficient tires just don't make up for the motor's low torque output and the lack of gears. The bike accelerated slowly, and it struggled to maintain speed on this shallow incline. Only Velotrix T1 ST Plus took longer than the Fiido Air. 3 of the comparison bikes, which admittedly do have larger 350-watt motors, were much faster up the small hill. And the single-speed 10-ways Fiido 600 Pro completed the climb almost a minute faster. The Air performed even worse in the steeper hill test. To keep the pedals turning over, I had to pedal out of the saddle. Like in the small hill test, the Velotrix came last, and the Fiido 600 Pro was over a minute faster than the Fiido. The Air's pedal assistance stops at 15.5 miles per hour, and it's nearly impossible to pedal this bike faster than that. So it can't compete with the other bikes in this test. The Air does reach its top speed of 15.5 miles per hour in a relatively quick 7 seconds, but that's it. You can just about pedal the Air at 20 miles per hour, but it is hard work. Unlike most e-bikes, including the comparison models we've chosen, the Air doesn't have the usual 5 pedal assist levels. It makes do with 2 modes, normal and sport. Using the sport mode, the Air managed just 18.6 miles in our first range test. Once again, only the T1 ST Plus did worse. The Utopia Carbon 1 traveled almost 70% further than the Fiido. The Air's range improved substantially in normal mode, but it's still underwhelming compared to the competition. In this test, even the Velotrix outperforms the Fiido by quite a margin. Clearly the Fiido Air is not the ideal choice if you need plenty of range, but at least you should be able to charge the battery up in less than 4 hours. We normally conduct our braking tests from 20 miles per hour, but since the Air is limited to 15.5 miles per hour, we used that speed instead. The 15.5 mile per hour braking distance was 18 feet. And this is a longer distance than we've seen on many e-bikes, which are stopping from 20 miles per hour, and those which weigh a lot more. Though this braking distance compares favorably with other bikes in the direct comparison, those bikes were stopping from 20 miles per hour. And even from this higher speed, the Utopia Carbon 1 needed only 21 feet to stop. At first glance, the Air's fully integrated lighting looks like an attractive feature, but the reality really isn't as impressive. The headlight is aimed down too steeply, and it can't be adjusted, so it eliminates the road too close to the bike. On top of that, the light simply isn't very powerful. In the comparison tests, you can see how much brighter our Cat-Eye 1100 reference light is, even at its lowest setting of 400 lumens. And at the back, the rear light is both large and bright, but there's no braking function. And that's disappointing given the Air is supposed to be a high-tech take on the urban e-bike. The bottom line is that if you plan on riding the Air at night, you're going to want to add some aftermarket lighting to enhance your visibility and to give a better view of the road ahead. The Air gets many of the basics right. It feels very light, and it's easy to maneuver, and it accelerates well on level ground. It's also relatively easy to pedal without assistance on level ground. Hills are a different story though. The single-speed drivetrain means that climbing hills with the motor off is very hard work. And even with motor assistance enabled, the lack of torque and gearing makes steep hills and strong headwinds hard work. The Air struggles to maintain speed when climbing hills, putting extra strain on both the battery and your legs. Trying to pedal faster than the 15.5 mph pedal assist limit results in some ghost pedaling. This added resistance from the motor make trying to go faster a pointless endeavor. The 40mm Kenda tires are fast rolling, and the extra volume compared to narrower road tires provides welcome shock absorption when riding over broken pavement and extra traction on loose surfaces. I found that the Air was actually very comfortable over light gravel trails. The slightly aggressive riding position inspires pedaling, and it makes the bike easier to maneuver. Overall, I thought that the Air felt like a very sporty bike, and it makes a decent option if you want to get some exercise in on your commutes while also having some assistance available to help you travel further with less effort. You can't set the Air up without Fiido's phone app, and this requires establishing a Bluetooth connection to the bike, linking up, and then setting up the fingerprint scanner. Once you've done this, you can ride the Air without the watch or phone by powering the bike up and scanning your fingerprint to unlock. Double-clicking that pedal assist button turns the lights on and off, and you can adjust pedal assist levels using the button on the top tube. But I did find it a little bit difficult to remember what the colors mean, and to distinguish between the purple and the blue. If you don't touch the button for 10 seconds, the light ring changes from the pedal assist level to the battery level. But as the on-bike battery readout uses only 3 colors as well, it's a little bit hard to estimate your remaining range. The bike automatically turns off if you leave it for 10 minutes, or you can just press the power button to turn it off. I've been through the Fiido app in other Fiido e-bike reviews, so we already know it's not the greatest app experience ever. With the Air, the Fiido app's advanced menu includes only a help introduction section, a bind e-bike number, smart unlock, fingerprint, bike guard, unit, and the debug mode. The Air marks our first opportunity to test the Fiido watch. At the time of this review, Fiido is including the watch for free. If they start charging for it, I'm not sure it would be worth paying for, honestly. Even as a free extra, the watch is kind of meh, for a couple of reasons. I've already mentioned the lack of an option on the Fiido watch to choose or disable Bluetooth connections, as well as the risk of the system getting confused and making the bike kind of useless for about 10 minutes. Another thing I noticed is that the watch seems to have pretty poor battery life. The watch has 2 modes, watch and bike. Once you've linked the watch to the bike, the watch is automatically going to enter bike mode whenever it's got a connection to the bike. You can then hold the side buttons for 3 seconds to get the option to switch between the 2 modes, which will pop up on the screen, allowing you to pick one or the other. In bike mode, the watch has a simple interface that shows the time, a headlight icon if the headlights are on, a Bluetooth link icon, and a 5-bar meter for the watch battery at the top of the screen. Under this, the watch displays the bike's speed, pedal assist level, and another 5-bar battery meter for the Air's battery. You can cycle through the pedal assist levels by tapping the area of the watch screen, and it goes from off to regular to sport, and then back to off again. Swiping left opens a detail screen, showing the time, the top speed, average speed, and the bike's odometer. And swiping left again opens the options menu, with the machine status, screen brightness, about device, and a reset option. Machine status lets you switch between miles per hour and kilometers an hour, disable the top speed display, and turn the lights on and off. Now in bike mode, you can't see any of the smartwatch data, like the heart rate and other features. It's annoying to have to exit out of bike mode to use the fitness features of this watch. And while it was in bike mode, it was too easy to accidentally change pedal assist level by touching the screen. It happened to me frequently. It's helpful being able to monitor the bike's remaining battery via the 5-bar meter on the watch. And that was my favorite function of the watch. In practice, the battery level fluctuates by 1 bar, depending on whether you're pedaling hard or just cruising. But it's otherwise pretty consistent, and it's certainly more useful than the light ring on the bike. Fiido calls the Air a revolutionary lightweight e-bike, and speaks of effortless motion, like floating through air. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't see anything particularly revolutionary here. If you like the look of the frame and you want a mostly carbon build, then the Air is going to be a solid option for you. But the Urtopia Carbon 1 offers similar styling and much better performance, for just a few $100s more. Both the Van Powers and 10-ways give you more performance and range. But again, they also weigh more than the carbon frame. On level ground, around town, and on light gravel, the Air is a great bike. And it should be plenty quick for some people, and the handling and drivetrain are certainly responsive. However, for me, the main problem is Fiido's claim of effortless motion. If you're going to need to tackle hills, travel extended distances, or you want to pedal faster than 15.5 miles per hour, the Air's unlikely to be the bike for you. But otherwise, the Air's low weight, engaging ride, and its ability to hide the fact that it's an e-bike make it a compelling choice, and great value for a carbon fiber city bike. So that's the Fiido Air. What do you think? Have you ridden it or any of the competitors that we mentioned in this review? And do you like the stripped down simplicity of the Air? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, if you found this useful, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And make sure to subscribe for more video reviews. For the full written review of the Fiido Air, follow the link under this video. My name's Scott, and I look forward to sharing the next bike ride review with all of you.